The silent defiance. The Vicari Dominion arrived on a Tuesday. No warnings, no communications, no demands. Just massive obsidian ships materializing in Earth's atmosphere like dark stains against the blue sky. Humanity's first contact with alien life wasn't the moment of celebration or terror that countless science fiction writers had imagined. Instead, it was marked by cold, methodical efficiency as the Vicari began their work. Dr. Maya Chen was in her underground laboratory when the invaders arrived. The tremors from their landing shook dust from the ceiling of her facility, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Like everyone else, she watched in helpless horror as the aliens deployed towering extraction pillars across the planet's surface. These monolithic structures began systematically draining Earth's resources, water, minerals, and disturbingly, biological samples. "They're treating us like a mine, not a civilization," Maya muttered to her research team as they gathered around monitors displaying satellite footage of the extraction process. 6 months into the occupation, Earth was a shadow of itself. The oceans had receded kilometers from their original shorelines. Entire mountain ranges had been reduced to flatlands. The atmosphere had thinned notably, making each breath feel slightly inadequate. The Vicari themselves rarely interacted with humans, viewing the indigenous population as nothing more than a minor inconvenience in their harvesting operation. Commander Jackson Reed had been among the first to organize resistance, a former Special Forces operative with a quiet intensity that inspired loyalty. Reed had established a network across the remnants of military and civilian infrastructure. When Dr. Chen contacted him about her research, he immediately recognized its potential. "You're saying you can make our weapons effective against their shields?" Reed asked during their first meeting in the cramped confines of an abandoned subway tunnel. Maya shook her head, her dark eyes reflecting the dim emergency lighting. "Better than that. I've been studying the distortion field their ships generate during transit. It's a form of quantum displacement. They're not just moving through space. They're folding it. And I think I can replicate it. Not just for weapons, but for entire vessels." Reed's weather-beaten face remained impassive, but his eyes narrowed slightly, the closest he came to showing excitement. "How long?" "With proper resources. 6 months. Maybe less." The conversation set in motion what would become known as Project Phoenix, while the Vicari continued their methodical stripping of Earth's resources, thinking the scattered human resistance was nothing more than a nuisance. Something remarkable was happening beneath the surface. Literally. In abandoned mines, underwater facilities, and repurposed subway systems, humans were building. Engineers who once designed luxury cars now crafted propulsion systems. Former video game programmers wrote targeting algorithms. School teachers organized supply chains. Humanity, facing extinction, had found unity in defiance. 4 months into Project Phoenix, Maya achieved the first successful test of her quantum displacement technology. In a secure chamber deep beneath what had once been Denver, a small prototype vessel, little more than a cockpit with engines, flickered and vanished, reappearing 20 meters away. The observers erupted in cheers, but Maya remained focused, already calculating improvements. "The energy requirement is still too high," she told Reed afterward. "And the spatial targeting needs refinement." "But it works," Reed said. Not a question, but a confirmation. Yes, it works. The first full-sized vessel was constructed in an abandoned salt mine in what had once been Germany. The ship, dubbed Defiance, didn't look impressive. A patchwork of repurposed materials and hastily manufactured components, but its heart was revolutionary. Maya's quantum displacement drive. As Earth's condition deteriorated further, the resistance accelerated their timeline. The Vicari, detecting unusual energy signatures, increased their harvesting operations and began more aggressive searches for human resistance cells. Eliza Okafor, once a schoolteacher in Lagos and now Reed's chief of logistics, delivered the sobering news. "We've lost contact with the Australian facility. The Sao Paulo bunker was discovered yesterday." Her voice remained steady, but the dark circles under her eyes betrayed her exhaustion. "We're running out of time and places to hide." Reed nodded, his jaw set in determination. "Then we commit to the timetable. The fleet launches in 3 weeks. The captains are saying the ships aren't ready," Eliza countered. "They'll never be ready by normal standards," Reed replied. "But ready or not, if we wait any longer, there won't be an Earth left to save." The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of frantic activity. Maya worked tirelessly, refining the quantum drive's efficiency while training pilots to operate the revolutionary technology. The principles were counterintuitive. The pilots weren't flying in traditional terms, but rather designating exit points for quantum jumps, sometimes multiple jumps in rapid succession. "Think of it as sewing with space-time," she explained to a group of former Air Force and Navy pilots. "You're creating a stitch pattern, not a flight path." The night before the launch, Maya couldn't sleep. She found herself wandering to the surface, a risky move with Vicari scanners constantly sweeping for human activity. Standing in the shadow of a ruined skyscraper, she looked up at the night sky, where the dark silhouettes of Vicari ships moved against the stars. "Couldn't sleep either." Reed's voice came quietly from behind her. Maya didn't turn around. 300 ships, Jackson. 300 against their fleet, even with the quantum technology. "It's not about matching them ship for ship," Reed said, coming to stand beside her. "It's about showing them, and any other species watching, that humanity isn't just another resource to be harvested. And if we fail, then we fail knowing we stood together." The commander's weathered face showed a rare smile. "But I've got a feeling the Vicari are about to learn why it's a bad idea to back humans into a corner." As dawn broke over what remained of Earth's surface, the final preparations were made. In hidden facilities worldwide, pilots conducted final systems checks, while engineers made adjustments to the quantum drives. Civilians said goodbye to loved ones who would be part of the assault. Maya took her place aboard the Defiance, not as its captain but as the chief science officer. The responsibility of command fell to Reed, who stood on the bridge watching as his crew took their stations. Despite everything, he felt a surge of pride. Humanity had accomplished in 6 months what should have taken decades. "All ships report ready, Commander," First Officer Takashi announced, his fingers dancing over the tactical display. Reed nodded, allowing himself one deep breath before giving the order that would commit them irrevocably to their course. "Begin launch sequence." Across the planet, hangar doors slid open. Mountainsides parted to reveal hidden launch pads, and the waters of lakes and oceans rippled as vessels rose from concealed underwater bases. The Phoenix fleet was taking flight, and with it, humanity's last, best hope for survival. The Vicari were about to discover that they hadn't found just another defenseless world to harvest. They had awakened a species that, throughout its troubled history, had always excelled when pushed to the brink of extinction. And now, that species was pushing back. Part 2. The Reckoning Storm. Supreme Commander Varric of the Vicari Dominion was reviewing the latest extraction reports when the alarms began. On the holographic display before him, hundreds of energy signatures suddenly appeared where moments before there had been nothing. His 4 eyes narrowed, amber pupils contracting to slits. "Impossible," hissed his second-in-command. "Their technology is primitive." Varric wasn't convinced. In his centuries of conquest, he had learned that desperation breeds innovation, and these humans were nothing if not desperate. "All ships to battle positions," he ordered, mandibles clicking in agitation. "Target these anomalies and eliminate them." The Vicari war fleet responded with practiced efficiency, massive weapon systems powering up as they formed defensive patterns. They had never been defeated in battle, never faced a serious challenge to their supremacy across 17 star systems. Their confidence remained absolute. That confidence was about to be tested. The Defiance led the charge, with Commander Reed standing resolute on the bridge as they accelerated toward the heart of the Vicari fleet. Behind came the rest of the Phoenix fleet, vessels of varying sizes and designs, united in purpose if not appearance. All ships execute attack pattern Sigma. Reed's voice was calm despite the chaos unfolding on the tactical displays around him. Remember your training. Use the quantum jumps unpredictably. Don't stay in one location long enough for them to target you. The bridge of the Defiance shuddered as its weapon systems engage, sending a barrage of missiles toward the nearest Valkyrie cruiser. The missiles themselves were unremarkable, repurposed mining charges and hastily weaponized satellites, but their delivery was revolutionary. They performed quantum jumps in erratic patterns, making them impossible to track or intercept. The first wave detonated against the Valkyrie shields, which flickered but held. Again, Reed ordered, his eyes never leaving the display. Target the same section of their shields. Across the battlefield, human ships danced through space in ways that defied conventional movement. The Artemis, under Captain Elena Rodriguez's command, executed a maneuver that brought it within knife-fighting range of a Valkyrie destroyer. At such close quarters, the alien vessel's main weapons couldn't bear. "Fire everything we've got," Rodriguez ordered, her knuckles white, as she gripped her command chair. The Artemis's mining lasers, repurposed as weapons, carved glowing furrows across the destroyer's hull. For the first time in centuries of conquest, the Valkyrie tasted fear. Their formations broke as individual captains attempted to counter the human vessels that seemed to appear and disappear at will. Their coordinated defense, which had intimidated countless species into submission, began to falter. In his command vessel, Supreme Commander Varric watched with mounting horror as the tactical situation deteriorated. "Impossible," he hissed, mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. "They are primitives. How could they master technology that has eluded us for generations?" His second-in-command had no answer. The battle unfolding before them defied all their assumptions about the species they had come to harvest. But the Valkyrie had not built an empire by surrendering at the first sign of resistance. Varric's initial shock gave way to cold calculation. "Deploy the harvesters," he ordered. "Target their population centers. Let's see how committed they are to this battle when their young are threatened." Across Earth, the remaining Valkyrie harvesters changed their focus. No longer content to strip the planet of its resources, they began systematic bombardment of areas with the highest human life signs. Cities that had been spared in the initial invasion now faced annihilation. The knowledge of what was happening planetside reached the human fleet in fragments. Desperate transmissions from ground forces, civilian distress calls, satellite imagery of cities being reduced to rubble. On the bridge of the Defiance, Commander Reed received the reports with a face that might have been carved from stone. Only the tightening of his jaw betrayed his emotion. "They're targeting civilians," First Officer Takashi said, his voice tight with anger, "trying to force us to break off our attack." Reed's response was immediate. "Maintain course. Continue the assault." His words fell like lead in the suddenly silent bridge. Everyone understood the choice he had just made, to press the advantage in space even as more lives were lost on Earth. "Sir," Takashi began, but Reed cut him off with a raised hand. "If we retreat now, we lose everything," he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the bridge. "The only way to save those people is to win this battle decisively." He turned to his communications officer. "Send word to our ground forces. Tell them to hold on. Help is coming." Maya, monitoring the quantum drive from her station, caught Reed's eye. Her expression was grim but resolute. She understood the calculus of their situation as well as he did. The battle intensified. Human vessels, despite their revolutionary technology, began to take losses. The Valkyrie, recovering from their initial shock, adapted their tactics, focusing fire on predicted emergence points for the quantum jumps. The Artemis was the first major casualty, caught in a crossfire between 3 Valkyrie cruisers as it rematerialized. The explosion lit up space like a newborn star, momentarily casting harsh shadows across the bridge of the Defiance. Reed allowed himself a moment of grief for Rodriguez and her crew before refocusing on the battle. Concentrate fire on the Vicari flagship, he ordered. All available ships. But even as the battle in space turned increasingly in humanity's favor, a new threat emerged, one that none of their simulations or intelligence had predicted. From the dark side of the moon, a massive vessel appeared, unlike the sleek, predatory designs of the Vicari fleet. This ship was angular and imposing, its hull marked with symbols unlike any human or Vicari writing. "What the hell is that?" Maya breathed, staring at the sensor readings that flooded her console. Before anyone could respond, the newcomer opened fire, not on the human fleet, but on the Vicari. A single shot from its main weapon tore through 3 Vicari cruisers, reducing them to expanding clouds of debris. A tense silence fell across the Defiance's bridge, broken only by the continued reports of the battle still raging around them. "Are they helping us?" Takashi asked, bewilderment clear in his voice. The answer came moments later, not in weapons fire, but in a transmission that simultaneously reached every human ship and facility. The voice that spoke was clearly artificial, a translation program struggling with human language. "Vicari vessels, you are in violation of Protected Species Protocol Alpha 9. Withdraw immediately or face elimination." The message repeated, each iteration slightly more refined as the translation program adjusted. Reed exchanged a look with Maya, who appeared as stunned as he felt. "Protected species," he repeated. Before they could process this development, the Vicari fleet began to retreat, breaking orbit with urgency that bordered on panic. Supreme Commander Varric, recognizing a superior force when he saw one, had made the decision to preserve what remained of his harvesting operation. Within minutes, the last Vicari vessel had vanished into the depths of space, leaving Earth's orbit clear of their presence for the first time in 6 months. The mysterious vessel made no move to pursue them. Instead, it established a stationary position above Earth's northern hemisphere and broadcast a new message. "Representatives of Earth, we are the Galactic Concord. Your species has been under observation for 3 centuries. Your response to the Vicari incursion has demonstrated readiness for contact. We request dialogue." In the hours that followed, the truth emerged. The Galactic Concord, an alliance of spacefaring civilizations, had been monitoring Earth for generations, following a strict non-interference protocol until a species demonstrated certain technological and sociological milestones. The Vicari, operating outside Concord law as a rogue harvesting empire, had attacked Earth prematurely. The Concord had been tracking the Vicari but hadn't expected them to target Earth for another century. "We regret that we could not intervene sooner," the Concord representative explained during the first official contact meeting. "Our laws prohibit interference until a species demonstrates quantum displacement capability independently." "So our fleet building was a test?" Reed asked, representing humanity alongside Maya and a hastily assembled group of surviving world leaders. "Not one of our design," the representative clarified. Its appearance, a hovering orb of pulsating light, was later explained as an avatar interface, but one you passed with remarkable ingenuity. Most species require centuries to develop quantum displacement after achieving spaceflight. Maya leaned forward. "We had a sample to study, the distortion field from their ships." Even so, the representative's tone conveyed what might have been respect. To reverse engineer quantum displacement from mere observations in just 6 months is unprecedented. It confirms our long-standing assessment that humanity possesses unusual adaptive capacity. The weeks that followed brought rapid changes to Earth's situation. The Concord provided technology to begin healing the planet's wounded ecosystems. Atmospheric processors began restoring the air quality. Specialized machines accelerated the replenishment of the oceans. More significantly, humanity was offered provisional membership in the Galactic Concord, an honor typically extended only after centuries of evaluation. "Your species has a tendency to excel when facing extinction," the Concord representative explained. "We believe the galaxy will benefit from this quality." 1 month after the battle, Maya found Reed standing on the observation deck of the new orbital station the Concorde had helped establish. Below them, Earth was beginning to heal, the scars of Vicari extraction slowly fading as recovery technologies did their work. "Still can't sleep?" she asked, coming to stand beside him. Reed shook his head, his eyes on the stars beyond Earth. "Still processing. 6 months ago, we were alone in the universe. Now we're part of an interstellar alliance. With a reputation," Maya added with a small smile. "The Concorde representatives say the Vicari are telling stories about us, about how a primitive species drove them back." "Good," Reed said. "Let the galaxy know that humanity doesn't go quietly." Maya was silent for a moment before asking the question that had been troubling her. "Do you think we would have won without the Concorde's intervention?" Reed considered this, his weathered face thoughtful. "I don't know, but I'm certain we would have kept fighting until the last ship, the last weapon, the last human. And that's why they've welcomed us into their Concorde," Maya realized. "Not just because we developed the technology, but because we were willing to fight against impossible odds." "Exactly," Reed nodded. "The universe has just discovered what happens when humanity's back is against the wall." He turned to her with a rare smile. "And judging by the Concorde's reaction, it's both terrified and impressed." As they stood watching Earth heal beneath them, both knew that humanity's journey was just beginning. The stars were no longer silent mysteries, but homes to civilizations that would soon know Earth's name. And when humanity's fleet next ventured into the cosmos, it would not be in desperate defense of a dying homeworld, but as recognized members of a galactic community, a community that had learned a valuable lesson. When humanity's fleet arrives, the universe takes notice.